Hi everyone, I'm Austin. I'm the Children's Librarian at the Prince George Public Library, and today I'm going to show you how you can get started playing the ukulele. So this video is for anyone who might be interested in learning how to play the ukulele, or as it's also called, the ukulele. If you just got a new ukulele or have an old ukulele and want to start playing it again, or if you're looking for a new hobby or music instrument to try while you're self-isolating, this is the video for you. Just as a note, I'm going to go nice and slowly during the video, but if you do miss any sections or want me to repeat anything, you can always go back and rewatch and catch up when you're ready. So, why the ukulele, you might be asking? Well, I like to encourage people to try the ukulele because it's small, it's portable, and it's easier to play than a lot of other instruments. It's also a lot cheaper than other instruments. I'm largely self-taught on the ukulele, and I use it for my work at the library during story times or during the adult ukulele jam that we lead at the library. And the really nice thing is, if you're like me and have a musical background, it's really fun and easy to pick up the ukulele and learn a few songs. But if you're brand new to music or very little experience, it's also really a great place to start trying. So to start things off, we're going to look at a ukulele, talking about its various parts and its strings. So first off, important note is that my ukulele is a concert ukulele. If you already have a ukulele, you may find that mine looks a bit bigger or smaller than yours. And it might also be a different color or even be made of something that's not wood. Even if your ukulele is different, that's totally okay. These different sizes should be pretty similar in how you tune and play them. The only difference might be it might have a slightly different sound, but that's totally okay for today. The only other important note is if your ukulele and you are left-handed, so you play it like this, and really then you can still follow along. The instructions will just be reversed, so you'll be strumming with your left hand instead. So we're going to go over some of the most important parts of the ukulele real quick, and we're going to start with the top of the ukulele. So the top of the ukulele, we have the head, the wooden head right here, as well as the tuning pegs or the tuners, which are along the side of my ukulele. So these pegs are, of course, what you use when you're tuning the instrument, and each one corresponds to a string, which you can visually follow along like that. We're not going to go over tuning in depth in this video, but if you would like to know more, you can definitely check out some other YouTube videos. I recommend for beginners getting an electronic tuner or using an app to help guide your tuning. And it's important that you keep your ukulele in tune at all times, or else it just won't sound right. So the next thing we're going to look at is the strings. The strings rest on the fretboard. So the fretboard here rests the strings, which is all on the ukulele's neck, which is the wooden piece right there. So this ukuleles have 4 strings. At the top is the 4th string, and at the bottom is the 1st. So it goes 4, 3, 2, 1. The most important thing to know about the strings is that each one corresponds to a different note. So starting at the top, we have G, C, E, and A. So G, C, E, and A. And this is true for most ukuleles, these 4 string notes. The way I remember GCA is with the saying, George Clooney eats apples, which is kind of goofy, but really helps it stick in my mind. But there's a lot of other ways you can remember the string names as well. Knowing these string names will really help you while you're learning to play and tune the ukulele. So on the fretboard, there are frets, which are these spaces here where you'll place your fingers on the strings to play notes in chords. These frets start at the top of the neck, starting with the 1st fret and going up accordingly. When we're playing the ukulele, we're just going to focus today on the first 3 or 4 frets, because that's the most common frets that you use when playing chords. So we have the head, the neck, and this is the body. On the body, there's the sound hole, which is basically where our sound comes out of when we're playing the ukulele, as well as our bridge down here, which is the part that keeps our strings attached. And that's about it. So there are a couple different ways you can hold and strum your ukulele. I'll show you some of the most common ones today, but whichever way you use is fine, as long as you're able to make a clear sound and you're comfortable. You want to make sure that the sound can be projected out to the audience using your sound hole. And you want to make sure that you can sit for long periods of time while playing and not feel any discomfort at all. So the most natural way for most people to begin playing is to rest their ukulele on their leg while seated and have their neck angled upwards like this. As with all positions, you want to make sure your sound hole is facing outwards to your audience. You don't want it to be up like this. You want it to be facing outwards to whoever you're playing for. If you don't want to rest your ukulele on your knee, you can also press the back of your ukulele to your belly or your chest like this, and use your forearm to hold it in place with your left hand supporting you. So you can also stand while playing the ukulele like this, which is really nice. But if you're standing, you may also want to use a strap. While you're playing with your left hand, this hand here, your main goal is to be able to play on the frets with curved fingers. So you want to have your fingers curved like this. Generally, you'll have your thumb on the back of the neck with your left hand. Then you can relax your other fingers over the frets. Depending on what chord you're playing and what feels comfortable, you may also want to have your thumb higher up like this. With your right hand, you should try to have your ukulele in place with your forearm. But the main key part is to be able to strum your ukulele with your wrist freely like that. Speaking of strumming, let's go over that now. As I mentioned before, there's a few different ways you can strum, such as using your finger, your thumb, or a pick. No way is incorrect, but some might feel easier for you. During this video, you'll see that I personally like to strum with my index finger. With this method, you strike the strings lightly with the edge of the nail on your index finger, like so. Just using the edge of your nail to brush across the strings. If you strum upwards with this method, you'll use the other side, the tip of your finger, to strum upwards. You want to make sure you keep your finger loose while doing this. Another popular method is to strum with your thumb. Brush your thumb gently over the strings. Make sure you don't press too hard. You should be able to strum both up and down with your thumb like this. A final method you can try is using a pick. I normally wouldn't recommend this, but if you're used to playing a guitar with a pick, then that's completely okay to do so as well. With all of these strumming methods, try to strum directly where the neck meets the body in this area. Not over the sound hole like you would with a guitar. You want to strum in this spot. Make sure you're strumming all 4 of the strings, so you don't want to leave any strings out. We want to play all 4 strings. With your other hand, your left hand, you want to make sure you're able to press down on the frets, on the strings, with the tips of your fingers, not the flat part. So you want to be able to press like that. This will allow you to quickly reach the positions required to play different chords. You also want to make sure that you're pressing down hard enough so that it makes a clear and audible sound like that. If you give it a test and it makes sort of a muffled sound like that, then you're probably not pressing down hard enough, or your finger's not in the correct spot on the fret. So give it another try and see if you can get a clear sound like that. So if you've been following along so far, that's great. You now know how to hold and strum a ukulele. So we're going to start looking at some chords. The chords are the beginning points of any songs you may want to learn on the ukulele, and the easiest way to learn them is through a chord chart like this. To read a chord chart, at the top you'll see the name of the chord. So this is the C chord, which is probably the most commonly played chord on the ukulele, and probably one of the easiest as well. And these 4 lines represent the strings of the ukulele, as if your ukulele was being held upright like this. And that black dot just represents where you're going to place a finger on a fret. So in this case, it's being placed on the bottom string in the 3rd fret position, if you want to try that out. Just like that. I recommend using your ring finger, as that'll help you play other chords easier in the future. So again, that's placing your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the bottom string. So try that out. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do that strum we learned earlier. A downward strum of all 4 strings, and that'll play the C chord. So try it out. It should sound like this. If it doesn't, you may have to reposition your fingers as needed. And if it does, congratulations, you played your first C chord. We're going to look at 2 more chords really quickly now, but don't worry, they're really easy. I put up the 2 charts here for C major 7th and C 6th. With C major 7th, the top chord, you're simply going to place your middle finger down on the 2nd fret of the bottom string. So instead of this finger, you're going to place this finger. This is the only change, so give it a try. It should sound something like this. Like that. C6th chord is even easier. You don't need to press down any strings at all, so there's no fingers required on the fretboard. Simply strum across all four strings with your left hand. You may still need to support your ukulele with your hand, but you don't need to press down any strings. So these chords are pretty easy and not commonly used, but we're going to put them all together now for a simple song that I like to call C Countdown. So now we're going to use these 3 chords together to play a simple song. I've put them on the side here in the order that we're going to play them in. For each chord, we're going to strum 4 times before moving on to the next chord. And the order we're going to play them in is C, then C major 7th, C 6th, and then C major 7th again. And we can repeat as needed from there. So essentially, you're going to press down on the 3rd fret, then the 2nd fret, then no frets, and then the 2nd fret again. So it'll sound a little something like this. All right, it sounds simple, but it still sounds nice. So let's try it together. I'll go nice and slow. Just focus on keeping a steady strum going and changing the chords in time with me. So let's try it out. Very nice. So keep practicing with it until you feel comfortable and can speed it up a bit and maybe repeat it a few times as well. Perfect. So you've learned a few chords and have played a simple song together. What should your next steps be to improve? Well, probably the first thing you're going to want to do is learn a few more chords. I recommend probably F and G chord, which I'm showing here. So the F chord is pretty easy. It's just 2 fingers. Which you should be able to catch on to. The G is definitely a bit harder for beginners to try. Your fingers might feel a bit cramped on the fretboard. But once you learn these 3 chords, you can play a lot of different songs. A lot of different children's songs use just these 3 chords in some combination. So you can get a lot of playing done with just 3 chords. The other thing you might want to start doing is mixing up your strumming a bit using strumming patterns. So on these strumming patterns, a down arrow means to strum down and an up arrow means to strum up. So as we can see, this first pattern is what we've been playing so far, which is just 4 down strums. The second strumming pattern is a bit more complicated. It has 8 strums going up and down like this. The third pattern is definitely more advanced. It's commonly known as an island strum, and it goes down, down, up, down, up. It sounds like this on the C chord. So it's more complex, but it really adds a lot of excitement to a lot of different songs that you want to play. So I definitely recommend learning it if you want to learn some different genres of music. So that about wraps things up for this video. You've learned a lot of new things today. You've learned the parts of the ukulele, how to hold and strum a ukulele, as well as a few chords and a simple song. Remember that the Prince George Public Library has a lot of different resources. It has a lot of books that can teach you how to play ukulele. As well, when we're open, we do programs teaching kids how to play the ukulele, and we do a monthly adult ukulele jam, which is a lot of fun. While we've been closed, we've been running that jam online on our YouTube channel, so definitely check that out if you want to play along to some songs. And finally, when we're open, we hope that you'll join us with your ukulele in the future. So thanks for watching, and keep practicing.